She left it in the car. Her wallet. That's how all of this started. We had switched cars that morning because hers needed an oil change, and I offered to take it in since my schedule was light. I found the wallet hours later, wedged between the seat and the center console, right where she always drops things. Normally I'd just text her and say I'd bring it home. But that day, God help me, I thought I was being a good husband. It was 8:47 p.m. I remember the time because I looked at the dashboard clock and thought, she said she'd be home by 9. I figured, why not surprise her at work, drop the wallet off, maybe even grab a quick bite on the way back. Something normal. Something kind. Something married people still do, right? But she wasn't at work. Her office building was locked. Her car wasn't in the lot. I even called her desk phone just to be sure, straight to voicemail. No big deal, I told myself. Maybe she left early. Maybe she took a rideshare. Maybe she was at that team dinner she vaguely mentioned last week. I checked her calendar. Nothing. Then, I opened her wallet to make sure her ID was inside. And that's when I saw it. 2 receipts. Folded together, tucked deep in the zippered pocket she rarely uses. Both from a bar on the other side of town. One from last night. One from tonight. Both signed. Both for 2 people. Her name was at the bottom in that careless, loopy signature she uses when she's tipsy. I sat there in the driver's seat for maybe 5 full minutes, just holding those receipts like they were ancient scrolls from some hidden past I wasn't supposed to see. And then, with something twisted clawing at my gut, I pulled up the bar's address and drove. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I suddenly didn't trust me. Because deep down, I think I already knew what I was about to see. And I was still too stupid to turn around. When I got to the bar, this small, trendy place with fake wood walls and string lights out front, I didn't walk in like a man on a mission. I walked in like a guy delivering a wallet to his forgetful wife. That was the story I kept rehearsing in my head, over and over. You're just here to return it. You're just being sweet. Then I stepped inside. There are moments when your life doesn't explode. It just disassembles quietly. She didn't see me. Not at first. She was sitting near the window, tucked into a booth like she belonged there. Her face turned towards someone I couldn't quite see. I heard her laugh. That easy, soft laugh she used to give me when we were still more than just roommates with matching towels. Then she leaned in, and he touched her face. That was it. That was when I stopped walking. That was when something inside me folded. I don't remember breathing. I just remember reaching for my wedding ring, twisting it, pulling it free, feeling the cold bite of air on my bare finger. I squeezed it in my fist so hard I could feel the metal press into bone. Then, slowly, I walked to the table. She looked up, and everything stopped. The warmth drained from her face like a slow leak. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked from me, to the ring, to the wallet in my other hand. And I swear, for a moment, she looked relieved, like a weight had finally hit the floor. I said nothing. I placed the ring on the table between her and the man. Then I set the wallet beside it. And I walked out. But what happened after that? That's when the truth started unraveling. And it turns out, the man at that table wasn't the worst part. Not even close. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I just sat in the dark apartment, still in my jacket, with the empty ring box in my lap. Funny thing is, I don't even remember grabbing it. Somewhere between walking out of that bar and unlocking the door to our place, I must have pulled it from the drawer where I kept all the things I hadn't looked at in years. Cards, photos, a bent paper crane she made me when we were dating. I think I wanted to remind myself that it was real once. That we were real once. But the part one can't stop replaying? It's not her face. It's his. Because the more I sat there, the more it gnawed at me. There was something familiar about him. Not his clothes, not his hair. His posture. His hands. His watch. I kept seeing it. This black leather band with a cracked face and a missing buckle. I'd seen it before years ago. Then it hit me. His name was Brian Milstead. He used to work at the same startup as me, years back, before everything went under. He was in sales. Cocky, annoying, always bragging about how charm could close any deal. He wasn't married. Said he didn't believe in it. We weren't close. I found him exhausting. But what I didn't know, until now, was that he and Delaney had overlapped. Briefly. He was there for maybe 4 months. Just long enough to remember him. Just long enough for her to remember him too. I searched his name online, hands trembling. It came up fast. LinkedIn, Instagram, even a YouTube video of him giving some overconfident motivational talk about closing life's deals. I didn't know what I was looking for. Proof, maybe. Or a denial. Something to say, this man isn't who you saw. But instead, I found the opposite. A photo from 3 weeks ago. Him, standing in front of a food truck. Smiling. Next to Delaney. She wasn't tagged. But it was her. Wearing the same coat she wore the night she told me she had extra hours this month because her department was short-staffed. My mouth went dry. I clicked on her calendar, the shared one she never really used. There were no meetings. No dinner plans. But I checked the photo's date. Then I checked our bank account. A charge. To the same food truck. Same night. Same time. She hadn't even tried to hide it. All that time I thought I was going crazy, imagining distance, overthinking. I trusted her. Even when she came home late and said she was just tired. Even when she brushed past me in the hallway without looking. Even when she laughed at her phone and said it was just a meme. It wasn't just a meme. It was him. I don't know how long I sat there in the dark, shaking, before I noticed the sound. Keys at the door. She was home. I didn't move. The door opened. She stepped inside like she didn't expect anyone to be awake. Her coat was half-zipped. Her face was still flushed from the cold. Or from him. I don't know. When she saw me, she stopped mid-step. We stared at each other. Then she said, I figured you'd be asleep. I didn't answer. I just opened my palm and let the empty ring box fall to the floor between us. The sound it made was so small. Pathetic, really. But her face changed. Like she knew, finally, that everything was about to come crashing down. And I hadn't even said a word. But I would. Because what I discovered the next morning made all of this look like a warm-up act to something far, far worse. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't lie. And somehow, that was worse than if she had done all three. She just stood there in the doorway, her bag still hanging from her shoulder, and stared at the ring box on the floor like it had grown teeth. I waited. I wanted to hear the excuse, the fake tears, the gaslighting. But what I got instead was silence. An awful, heavy, unapologetic silence. I finally said, how long? She looked at me, and I swear, her mouth twitched, like she was about to form words, then changed her mind. Then she said it. Calm. Flat. Since August. August. That meant while we were still going to therapy. While I was canceling my trip to visit my mom because she said she needed me around more. While I was staying up late trying to write her birthday speech because I wanted to make her feel seen. She was with him. Already. I asked if she loved him. She shrugged. I don't know, she said. It's not about that. My voice cracked when I said, then what is it about? She sat down on the armrest of the couch. Our couch, the one we bought after our first tax refund as a couple, and she looked tired. Not guilty. Just done. He listens to me. I don't feel invisible. That's all. I should have yelled. I should have thrown something. But instead I just sat there and let those words rip a hole through me. I don't feel invisible. As if I'd spent the last year of my life trying to vanish her on purpose. As if I hadn't tried everything to keep us together. I changed my hours. I cooked more. I even read some dumb self-help book about emotional languages. But apparently Brian Milstead's emotional language was touching her face in a booth while feeding her tacos. I told her I wanted her out. She nodded. Said she'd go to her sister's. No fight. No breakdown. Like she'd rehearsed this. Like she'd wanted me to find out. The next morning, I got up early. Didn't sleep again. My heart felt like it had been running a marathon in my chest all night. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the plate I set out but never used, and something gnawed at me. A voice in my head whispered, there's more. I couldn't explain it, but I felt it deep in my spine. This wasn't just a fling. This wasn't an affair of impulse or loneliness. There was something calculated about her reaction, about how calm she was. Like this was all part of a bigger plan she thought I was too dumb to see. So I started digging. I logged into the phone plan portal. Not to snoop. Not really. But just to confirm timelines, see if I was crazy or not. And that's when the real betrayal hit me. There weren't just messages to Brian. There were hundreds of texts. But not just between the two of them. There were two other numbers. One saved under a name I didn't recognize, Corey J. The other, unsaved, with more messages than anyone else. And the worst part? One message, from just 3 nights ago, timestamped 1:14 a.m. He still has no clue. I'll tell him after the lease ends. One step at a time. My hands went ice cold. There was a plan. And I wasn't just the fool. I was the obstacle. The clueless, pathetic barrier she was just waiting to move around. She hadn't just been unfaithful. She was orchestrating something. Something layered. Something bigger than Brian. And now I needed to know what. Because the man at that bar? He wasn't the whole story. Not even close. I don't know what hurt more. The cheating, or realizing I wasn't even the point. I was a placeholder. A warm body to keep things functional while she worked out her real plans. Once I saw that text about the lease, something shifted in me. I stopped feeling like a betrayed husband and started feeling like prey. Like I'd been managed. I dug deeper. I copied the unsaved number into a reverse lookup site. It wasn't Brian. It belonged to a woman named Kendra Hawksley. I didn't recognize the name at first, but then something about it rang a faint bell. I searched my email. There it was. A rental application. From 3 months ago. Delaney had forwarded it to me, saying it was a random spam email. But it wasn't spam. It was a lease agreement. In her name. And Kendra's. And it was already signed. They'd signed for a 2-bedroom unit on the other side of town. The start date? Next week. That's when I understood. She wasn't waiting to leave me. She already had. She had a whole exit plan set up. Co-signed with someone else. Someone I'd never even heard of. I opened the lease document and scrolled to the notes section. My hands started to shake again. Right there, under anticipated co-resident, it said, Brian M., occasional overnight guest. I felt like I was going to vomit. She wasn't just ending our marriage quietly. She was transitioning to something new. Smoothly. Strategically. Like this was all some project plan she was executing in phases. And I was phase 1. I thought about confronting her, but what would I say? Hey, I snooped through our phone bill and reverse-checked the name of your new roommate. She'd only twist it back on me. Make me the invasive one. She was good at that. Turning everything around. Always keeping her hands clean while I was the one apologizing for bleeding. So instead, I printed everything. The messages. The lease. The receipts. Her phone bill. I made a copy of the ring receipt too. The one from the jeweler when I had it resized for her last anniversary. It was a stupid move in hindsight. I should have returned it and bought myself a spine. Then I went to our shared bank account. Now, I'm not stupid. I didn't drain it. That would have made it easy for her to file something legal and play the victim. Instead, I withdrew exactly half. To the dollar. Left a receipt in the drawer where she keeps the mail, right under a sticky note that said, for groceries. After that, I packed a bag. Not everything. Just enough to disappear for a while. I didn't want to see her face again. Not after what I was about to do. But before I walked out, I did something she never expected. I printed the photo from her phone, the one she thought she deleted. The one where she and Brian were holding hands at the food truck, her face half lit by neon, smiling like she was living her best life in a secret dimension where I didn't exist. I taped it to the fridge. Above it, I wrote in red Sharpie. You could have just left, but you wanted me to suffer first. So now we both get something to remember. Then I turned out the lights. And I vanished. At least, that's what she thought. Because what I did next, let's just say it wasn't silence. It was the calm before the storm. It's strange how invisible you can become in your own life once you stop trying to be seen. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't respond to her emails. I didn't block her, either. I wanted her to see that I saw everything, and that I was done. But done didn't mean passive. Not anymore. I moved into a short-term rental under a name I hadn't used since college. My middle name and my mom's maiden name. Paid cash. No questions asked. It was a small place, old and quiet, and the floorboards creaked like they were warning me not to trust anyone ever again. I didn't care. It gave me a place to think. But I couldn't let it go. I needed to understand how deep the betrayal went. Not out of obsession, but survival. Because the more I dug, the more it felt like this wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated, layered exit plan. And the part that chilled me the most? Delaney wasn't smart enough to pull it off alone. So I watched. I created a new account on an old social media platform and followed every thread she was part of. She thought she was being careful. But people always leave fingerprints. It didn't take long to find the new life she'd started assembling. There were vague posts about freedom, fresh starts, and finally choosing happiness. She wasn't brave enough to post photos with Brian, but her captions matched the dates I'd already confirmed from her location history. She was basically building a digital diary of betrayal. Then came the twist. I found Kendra's page. The roommate. Kendra posted without filters. She was the type who loved selfies in bathroom mirrors and overshared in captions. One picture stopped me cold. It was Delaney and Brian sitting on the couch in the new apartment, all smiles, with a stack of boxes behind them. She captioned it, "My power couple settling in two hearts finally out of that suffocating situation. Hashtag new chapter hashtag Namaresicrits." Suffocating situation. That was me she was talking about. That's how she rewrote our history. Not the man who paid for her certifications, supported her career switch, stayed up late editing her resume, and listening to her vent. No, I was the weight she cut loose. The obstacle she spun into a villain. It was disgusting, but also enlightening. Because buried in the background of one of Kendra's posts, barely visible, was a detail they forgot. A whiteboard. On it, behind Brian's smug head, were 3 names. Not full names. Just first initials and dates. D, B, M. Each followed by a number. M's number was higher than the others. I stared at it for 20 minutes. Then I realized, M stood for me. Clement Morgan. It wasn't initials. It was a scoreboard. They were tracking me. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a game. And I had been the final boss. That was when the anger finally broke through the numbness. When I realized they hadn't just discarded me, they studied me, played me, used my trust as their training ground. So I stopped watching. And I started planning. Because if this was a game to them, they were about to learn what it felt like when the piece they thought was weakest flips the entire board. I don't know when exactly the switch flipped inside me, but once it did, everything became crystal clear. This wasn't about saving the marriage. This wasn't about closure. This was about exposure. Because if they wanted to treat my life like a rehearsal for their twisted little performance, I was going to make sure the curtain dropped on them. I started simple. The first thing I did was forward that photo of the scoreboard whiteboard, blurred, but still legible, to Delaney's employer. She'd just started working there a few months ago, constantly bragging about how professional and reputation-focused the company was. Their website was littered with buzzwords like integrity, transparency, and team-first culture. I didn't even write anything in the email. No threats, no accusations. Just attached the photo and titled it, "Employee Behavior Behind the Scenes." I knew it would rattle her. I knew she'd check her inbox in the morning and wonder how much had been seen, and by who. I wanted her to sweat. Then I sent a copy to Brian's sister. How did I get her contact? Easy. That motivational video he posted years ago. At the end, he thanks my sister Marie, who pushed me to believe in myself. One reverse search later, I found her profile. She was married, had a kid, and very publicly supported family values. I sent the photo with a time-stamped caption. "This is the man helping your niece with homework on weekends. He's not who you think he is." Again, no commentary, no signature. Just seeds. Quiet, precise seeds of truth. But I wasn't done. There was one last layer I needed to peel back, the finances. Our joint taxes from the last 3 years showed something weird that I never thought to question until now. A side account. Something small. Something she kept skimming from our returns and sliding into a personal fund I wasn't aware existed until I rechecked the deposit logs. It was hidden under her maiden name. A little nest egg she'd been building in case she had to leave quickly. Her words, not mine. I know because she wrote that exact phrase in an old chat to Kendra 2 months ago. I just want enough tucked away that I can leave quickly if it gets too messy. Too messy. That was me. The man who gave her everything, now labeled as messy. I spoke to a lawyer. Quietly. Explained what I found. Showed him the paper trail, the messages, the texts. He didn't even blink. Said it was one of the coldest, most calculating pre-divorce setups he'd seen. But it wouldn't be enough to bury me, unless I kept quiet. That's the part they never expected. Because I was the quiet one. The soft one. The apologizer. But they forgot something about people like me. The ones who sit in silence, soaking it all in, giving chance after chance. When we finally stop forgiving, we don't burn bridges. We turn the whole map to ash. And that's exactly what I plan to do next. Because the real show hadn't even started. And she was about to learn what it feels like when the man she thought was broken suddenly stops playing by her script. The thing about people like Delaney, they never expect to lose. They write the rules, rewrite the past, and narrate their own betrayals like they're the victims of a bad romance. So when everything finally started slipping out from under her, she didn't even notice at first. She was too busy enjoying the view from the fantasy life she built on top of my bones. The first crack showed when her company launched an internal ethics investigation. I wasn't told directly, of course, but Kendra, bless her loudmouth, posted a not-so-cryptic update. Funny how some people can't handle a little ambition. Hashtag jealousy looks ugly. That told me all I needed to know. A few days later, her professional LinkedIn quietly vanished. No post, no update, just gone. One less mask to wear. But Delaney being Delaney, she tried to pivot. She posted a filtered story about finally stepping away from toxic environments and reclaiming her peace. I almost laughed. Except I wasn't done yet. I waited one more week. Then I sent her the final package. Inside was a single manila envelope. I had it delivered through a courier with no return address. She would have opened it expecting divorce papers, or maybe another printed email exposing her. But instead, all it held was a flash drive. And a note. Just 2 words. Play me. On the flash drive was a screen recording, one long file, nothing fancy. Just a quiet, methodical recording of every account she thought she'd hidden from me. The secret savings under her maiden name. Her chats with Kendra planning my phase out. Her messages to Brian about getting out clean. Even the screenshots from the scoreboard on the whiteboard, frame by frame. Proof that I saw everything. But that wasn't the part that would break her. No, the final clip was a video I'd held onto for over a year. A recording from her birthday dinner. The one where I rented out the back patio of her favorite Italian place. I had asked the waiter to film the toast. In it, I stood up, all glassy-eyed, and talked about how proud I was of her. How much I believed in her. How lucky I felt just waking up beside her every morning. She cried when I said it. Then she kissed me. It had been a lie, even back then. But now, she had to watch it from the other side of the curtain. I didn't send it to shame her. I sent it to remind her who I was. Because people like Delaney rewrite history. They burn down the past and salt the ground so nothing grows back. But this video, this was the truth. I wanted her to see how deeply I'd loved her before she decided I was disposable. And then I wanted her to sit with it. I didn't hear from her for 4 days. Then the messages started. First 1, then 3, then 11. I didn't open a single one. She begged. Said she needed to talk. Asked where I was staying. Said she deserved a voice. My favorite? We can still be civil. There's no need to make this a war. Oh, Delaney, you started the war. You just forgot who you were standing across from when the dust finally cleared. But the real ending? That would come when we met face to face for the last time. And I made sure she couldn't control the story anymore. I agreed to meet her, but not where she expected. No cafe. No soft-lit neutral ground. I chose a public park downtown. Open, clear, unfiltered. I sat on a bench beneath a leafless tree, winter wind biting through my coat, and waited. When she arrived, she looked different. Not broken, not even sad. Just exposed. Like someone who finally realized the spotlight was no longer flattering. She walked up cautiously, like I might explode. I didn't. She said my name like a question. Clem. I didn't respond. She sat next to me anyway, hands jammed into her pockets. Her voice cracked a little when she finally said, I didn't mean for it to go like this. I stayed quiet. Let her fill the silence. I thought if I did it slowly, it wouldn't hurt as much. I didn't want to destroy you, Clem. I turned to her then, calmly, and said, You didn't destroy me. You freed me. She flinched. I continued. I spent years trying to make you happy. Bending. Shrinking. Thinking if I just did one more thing right, you'd stay. But I was never who you wanted. And that's fine. The part that wasn't fine was how you turned love into a game. She tried to speak, but I held up a hand. No more stories. No more versions of the truth. I'm not angry anymore, Delaney. I'm done. I came here to thank you. Because if you hadn't betrayed me like this, I never would have woken up. And that was true. I'd started rebuilding my life. Quietly. The lawyer helped me file for divorce. Amicable, efficient, no room for emotional manipulation. I used my half of the savings to invest in something I'd buried for years, my own business. Nothing flashy, just a small design studio I'd dreamed of opening back when I thought life had room for dreams. It turns out, it still does, once you clear the wrong people out of the frame. I moved cities, found a new apartment, smaller but filled with light. And maybe the most surprising part, I started seeing someone. Someone kind. Someone who didn't play games or need to be chased. It's early. No labels. But for the first time in years, I don't feel like I have to earn the right to be loved. As for Delaney, she didn't say much after that. Just nodded, stood, and walked away, slowly, like her feet weighed more than her body. Maybe it finally hit her that I wasn't the weak one. I was the survivor. And I didn't just survive her. I thrived without her. Funny how that works. So if you're reading this because you're stuck in the same chair I once was, wondering if you're crazy, wondering if you should keep fighting for someone who's already halfway out the door, here's my advice. Let them go. Walk away with your dignity, your silence, your spine. Then rebuild. Because the right people don't need to be convinced. They stay. And they never keep score.